You pick up your phone, you scroll through your contacts, and you notice something that would alarm most people but genuinely doesn't bother you at all. There are almost no names left. Not because something went wrong, not because of some dramatic falling out or a catastrophic betrayal. Just because, gradually, quietly, and with increasing clarity, you stopped maintaining connections that were costing more than they were giving. People faded, groups fell away, the circle got smaller and smaller, and somewhere along the way you realized you weren't shrinking, you were distilling. Society has a very clear opinion about this. It says you are isolating. It says this is a warning sign. Therapists write articles about social withdrawal as a symptom of depression. Friends who haven't heard from you in months send worried messages. Family members take it personally. And occasionally, late at night, you sit with the smallness of your social world and wonder if they're right. If the quiet isn't peace, but something darker dressed up as preference. It isn't. And the psychology of why you do this is far more sophisticated than the people worrying about you understand. What you are engaging in is not avoidance. It is not damage expressing itself as distance. It is a highly evolved, deeply intentional process that psychologists call interpersonal selectivity. And research consistently shows it is associated not with social dysfunction, but with greater emotional clarity, higher relationship satisfaction, and a significantly better understanding of what you actually need from other people. Highly sensitive, deeply empathetic, and emotionally intelligent people experience social interaction differently than the general population. For most people, a superficial conversation at a party costs almost nothing. For you, every interaction carries a processing load. You are reading subtext, managing your own emotional responses to other people's energy, tracking the dynamics of the room, and filtering what you say through layers of consideration. You are, in every social situation, working significantly harder than it looks, and you feel the cost of it, not in the moment necessarily, but afterward, in the hours it takes to return to baseline. This means that for you, the relationship between the quality of a connection and the energy it requires is not the same equation it is for other people. A shallow but high-maintenance friendship that costs a neurotypical person almost nothing can cost you an entire afternoon of recovery. Your nervous system is doing a full accounting of every relationship in your life, whether you ask it to or not, and at some point, it starts presenting you with the results. The people who remain are the ones who passed an evaluation you didn't consciously run. The people who left, the ones you stopped calling, stopped texting, stopped showing up for, failed it. Not because they were bad people, because the exchange wasn't sustainable for a nervous system built like yours. You didn't cut them off in anger. You simply stopped renewing a subscription that wasn't delivering what it cost. This is what researchers call relational ROI. And for highly sensitive people, it is not a conscious calculation. It is a felt sense that gradually becomes undeniable. But not everyone who ends up with a small circle got there the same way. There are 3 distinct types, and knowing which one you are will explain a lot about how you move through the world. Type 1, the deliberate curator. You made a conscious decision at some point, maybe after a burnout, maybe after a period of painful social overextension, to audit your relationships the way you'd audit anything else that demands your time and energy. You asked which connections left you feeling better and which left you feeling worse. You asked who showed up and who required constant chasing. You kept what answered well. You released what didn't. Your circle is small by design, not by default, and it contains people who know you at a depth that most people never experience in their most populated social lives. You don't miss the volume. You are too busy being genuinely known. Type 2, the burned architect. Your circle didn't shrink through a planned audit. It contracted in response to being hurt, not once, but enough times by enough people that your nervous system quietly revised its entry criteria. You didn't become cynical. You became precise. Where you were once generous with trust, you are now careful. Where you once gave access freely, you now require it to be earned. The people still in your life went through something without knowing it. A slow, extended evaluation that most of them weren't even aware of. The ones who remained did so because they proved over time that they were safe. not perfect, safe. And you hold them with a ferocity that surprises people who only see the smallness of the circle. Type 3, the quiet dissolver. You never had a dramatic rupture with anyone. No confrontations, no blocked numbers, no announced endings. People simply faded, and you let them. You stopped initiating. You responded less. The connections that weren't reciprocal quietly dissolved from lack of maintenance, the way a fire goes out when no one adds wood. You didn't decide to cut anyone off. You decided, often without framing it as a decision at all, to stop working harder than the other person to maintain something they didn't seem to notice was disappearing. The result looks, from the outside, like ghosting. From the inside, it felt like finally being honest about something that had been true for a long time. Now here is what all three of these have in common, and what the people worrying about your small circle consistently miss. The research on social connection and well-being is frequently misrepresented. When studies say that social connection is essential to mental health, they mean quality connection, not volume, not frequency, not the number of names in your phone. The same research shows consistently that one genuinely close relationship provides more psychological benefit than 10 superficial ones, and that people who maintain large social networks at the expense of depth frequently report higher loneliness than people with smaller, more intentional circles. You are not isolated. You are selective. These are not the same thing, and confusing them is the source of most of the shame people try to hand you about this. You are allowed to keep a small circle. You are allowed to stop investing in connections that consistently cost more than they return. You are allowed to require depth as the price of admission to your life. The people who belong in your world will find their way in, and when they do, they will receive something that most people, surrounded by many, never give or receive: your complete, genuine, unperformed presence. The circle is small. That is precisely why it holds. So tell me, which one are you? The deliberate curator, the burned architect, or the quiet dissolver? Drop your type in the comments. I read every single one. If this video made you feel a little less isolated and a lot more understood, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to keep these deep dives going, hit the join button to become a channel member. It genuinely means the world. Now, if you keep a small circle by choice, there's a very good chance you have also noticed something uncomfortable. When you do let someone in, you feel things at an intensity that can be genuinely overwhelming. Click the video on your screen right now to find out the real psychology behind feeling everything too deeply, why your emotional world runs louder than most people's, and why that is one of the rarest and most powerful cognitive traits that exists. I'll see you there.